Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ultimate webinar series for the serious landscape designer. We have Patrick Duchesne with us today. Patrick, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Patrick Duchesne, the owner of Duchesne Design Solutions. You've been a client with DynaSCAPE for, 13 years now?
Yeah.
Maybe more. I'm Joe Salemi. I'm the product marketing manager with DynaSCAPE, responsible for all of the products, the strategic direction, and all of the features and enhancements and fixes that go into DynaSCAPE Design, Color, Sketch 3D, and Manage 360. So today's webinar 4 out of our 6-part webinar series, and today we're talking about the presentation. We're going to talk about the ease of use with the features that you need to produce a job-winning presentation, being able to set up your drawing for presentations. We're going to talk about the graphics, the selections of figures, and how to utilize the line weights so that when it translates to your presentation, you've got something that just knocks it out of the park. The ability to add images to your drawing, so for example, showing images of plants or materials on top of the drawing to show clients what they're going to be getting. We're going to talk about color rendering and how we've made that easy in linking between DynaSCAPE Design and DynaSCAPE Color to do color rendering. And finally, we're going to talk about custom textures and being able to bring those in and really taking your design presentation to the next level and bring it to life. So before we start and before I hand it over to Patrick, just a little bit of housekeeping. All 6 of these webinars are being recorded. So by now, if you have signed up before today's webinar, you would have received the link to the recordings of the website that's got the 3 previous recordings. If you haven't got that, let me know. I'll have my contact information available at the end of the webinar. I am posting them to the website, so under resources and on the blog, it's right there. It's the first link. We will have time at the end for Q&A. So the little question bubble on the right-hand side, please click that and put all your questions there, and we'll try and get to as many questions as we can in the allotted amount of time that we have. And so there it is, use the question box. And I think it's about that time, Patrick, where I'm going to give you control of the presentation so you can take us through and show us how to create job-winning presentations.
All right, cool. Okay, you can hear me okay, Joe?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, and you can see the grass right on the screen, right?
Yeah, beautiful landscape.
Okay, great. So I am going to be talking to you today about presentations. And give me 1 second because, hold on 1 second. Okay, so let's do this.
Oh, there we go. We've got your mouse back.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Well, where there's a will, there's a way. So sorry about that. Sorry about that rough start, everybody. Okay, so presentation, in my opinion, is really almost the most important part of the whole design process. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're providing your client with the right solution that they asked for. You want to deliver something that is within the price that they asked for, and you deliver it in a timely fashion. But the presentation is really what really sets the precedence for you as an individual in your company, and it's kind of the first thing that they see other than your clean trucks and how well you're dressed at your appointments. So what we're going to do is walk through some really important parts of this. So DynaSCAPE software, as a lot of you well know, is a pretty powerful piece of software. You can create incredible presentations with incredible accuracy, but the great thing about it all is that you do not need a lot of, you really don't need a lot of tools to produce great-looking drawings. So in the beginning, when I used the software, I was a little intimidated by all the buttons because I never really used CAD software. But after a few days of kind of working through videos, it's not that complicated. So it's not a very bloated software compared to other pieces of software I've seen and kind of taught myself on. So that's a great thing. So no matter what level of expertise you have with computers, you're going to be able to pick this up and create really nice looking drawings with really high levels of detail if you want in a pretty short amount of time. So really to start out is the setup with these drawings. And DynaSCAPE has made it very easy for you to do this. And if you're not doing this, you need to start doing this. Hold on one second here. I just realized my keyboard does not work because my dock is not working because my power's not on. I'm going to switch to the, okay, there we go.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you for the Surface keyboard. Okay, we're in business. So if anybody who's using the software, I want you to really start using simple things that are very powerful. And I've gone over these in previous webinars, but in the figures library, under the title block toolbars or components or figures, are these preset sheets that you can use to instantly create these really nice sheet layouts. So this is already made for you. You want to practice printing a couple of these to make sure when you do print them that the borders are accurate. Because even though it looks like this is going to print just fine, depending on what printer you have, and I'm sure a lot of you have dealt with this, you think it looks good in the drawing, but then you print it and part of it's cut off. So kind of calibrate that in the beginning. So this is a great setup. There's another one here that looks like this. It's a little different scale, a little bit more simple, but I see this one really used most often. So if you're not using this, use it. Don't kind of fumble around and make your own every single time because it's just defeating the purpose. If you want to make your own, do it, but save it as a prototype, which that was in webinar 1, probably the first thing we did, or just save it kind of as a template drawing, like 18 by 24, 1 inch equals 10 foot drawing, and then you can replicate that and use it every single time. So the next great part of the software is its ability to fill in, kind of auto-filling in text. So this is another thing that really just makes this look great. So if this drawing was drawn by Joe Salemi, let's make it even more interesting. Joseph Salemi.
Getting very
okay, so that's what I was looking for. That's the word I was looking for. Official. So you can see it populated this down here at the bottom. Let's say it's checked by Dan Weaver at DynaSCAPE Software. Sorry, Mike, I left you out of this one. Maybe next time. And then date, whatever today's date is, 3 November. So we'll fill that in. So all of these little things, even though they look just, they're very basic functionalities. It's a little off, but they really make a drawing start looking, official and professional. These are all auto-populated. If you look in this, these are all kind of typed in there as well. So that there is just how easy it is to set your drawings up and make them look nice right off the bat. And the more you can kind of automate this each time, maybe you have a drawing that you use that's a template, or if you get into prototypes, save drawn by Joseph Salemi or what your name is, or and your boss, if your boss checks it every time, if the scale is the same every time. So the scale, the graphic scale, that would be the same every time. This obviously would not be the same every time because north is never a constant thing. So the graphics and selection of figures, this is really where DynaSCAPE software, in my opinion, is the best software on the market when it comes to graphics, line weights, selection of figures. It comes right out of the quote-unquote box. I don't know if you even send a box anymore. Maybe you do with the big manual. But really, Joe, you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the big claims to fame is the layers in DynaSCAPE software. And from what I've heard, Joe telling other clients at trade shows and stuff, there was a lot of work put into getting the layers really right. When we learned let me put this away real quick. When we learned how to draft in school, the higher the elevation you are as far as shade trees, buildings, those kind of things, those are all heavier line weights. And then as you start going down closer to the ground plane, those lines get thinner and thinner. So it's, the concept is the same in DynaSCAPE Design, where a line for a building is like this. Property lines. Let's draw a property line. Already broken into, just like we do in school. Walkway layer. A little bit, a solid line. But then let's go down to plant bed layer right here. So that's a nice thin layer that just kind of is representative of what we would do in drafting. So then we just get into the figure libraries, which are just incredible. And there's more figures in there than you'll ever know what to do with. You can create your own figures if you want to, but in 13 years of using this, I maybe have made, I think at some point I made, there's a outdoor kitchen, or there's a manufacturer called Eldorado Outdoors, and there's other ones where they make prefabricated kitchen box modules. And at one point I made those so I could just grab those right out of the library and lock them together. But other than that, I mean, I knew how to make custom figures at one point, but it's been so long I couldn't even tell anybody if they asked me how to do it now without kind of going back and reteaching myself. So, I mean, if I'm not saying I'm wonderful, but after 13 years, I've done a lot of drawing, and there's always something in here that I want to use. So when you're using the software, especially when you start to learn it, as you start getting through the exercises of inserting figures, just spend 30 minutes or however long it takes you to go through all of these figures and learn where they are, which ones you like. You can add certain figures to the favorites library, which I won't do now. I think we've done that in another webinar. You can reorganize these libraries, so there is some flexibility here. And for a while there, a few years ago, they really updated quite a few of these. So it's just incredible what you can use, what's available that you just don't have to draft. I mean, to be able to just grab this furniture right here and float it into a drawing very quickly so you can kind of study your spatial dynamics is pretty slick. So acclimate yourself with the figures and use the layers. I was in this box before. These are all the layers. These are all the colors that DynaSCAPE has assigned for those. That doesn't mean you can't go and change the layer weights and width. It doesn't mean you can't go change the colors. You can make your own layers as well, But again, you know, a lot of CAD users that come from DynaSCAPE, or that come from AutoCAD to DynaSCAPE, which I'm seeing a lot of now. It's kind of interesting that to see, but they love it, and they really love having these layers all set up. So that's kind of just some nitty-gritties as far as like figures and lines. So the next one is just your really quick ability to make plant packets. So, you know, it's pretty cool when you can just create these right here, a very quick plant packet for your client. It's not rocket science. It's just a function right in the software where you click File, Export, Plant Picture Catalog, and it gives you a very well-organized plant packet, or plant, what does the support actually call them, Joe? Plant
Picture catalog.
Yeah, plant picture catalog. I call mine a plant selection packet. So if you call into DynaSCAPE, call it what Joe's called it, not me, because I don't like when I call things differently than what really it's supposed to be. But call it whatever you want. It looks great. So very easy to show your clients the plant packets. So let's get into some really cool stuff now. So we have this drawing here, and a really nice feature is you can, you know, I didn't invent the word clip art, but that's kind of what I call it when you put it in the drawing. You insert any kind of clip art that you want. You can put plant pictures in there. You can put images of work that you've done. So I was going to do an exercise where I installed a batch of images from a plant packet that I convert, but obviously without the internet I'm not going to be able to do it. So I'll show you basically something, let's see, pretty simple. Like, let's go to here and go to some hardscape images. And let's say we want to show a client what this Techo Block product looks like. So we can bring this Techo Block product right into our drawing and showcase that product. Let's say we want to bring in some renders we've done from a previous job. So this was a client that sent me a design, and then I 3D modeled it. And if we wanted to bring that, let's just throw these. Let's not throw them down there because that's not going to look good. Let's put one like right. Let's just put it here for now. Okay, so there's one image right there of a 3D model. So this, obviously this organization here is not perfect, but it's just, you know, for the purpose of a webinar. But you can see once you start really well organizing this clip art, it's going to start reducing a lot of the clutter in your presentation as far as how many different things of plant catalogs and Techo Block or E.C. Henry catalogs and, you know, folders and folders of information. So the more simple you can keep your presentation at somebody's house or in your office, the better. And I'm sure a lot of you have already figured this out. Keep your presentation as simple as possible and digestible as possible so you don't get information overload, because that is a major enemy of, not like, that's not a good way of saying it, it's a major detractor of a successful presentation. So here's one image right here. And because these, let's see, because these were saved at the same drawing size, what I'll do is draw a square around this. So this is kind of things that I do to take drawings to the next level. I'll copy this square over. So I have the same size drawing, and that's really way too close. All of this is way too close to these images. So let's just move this whole drawing up and get it out of the way. Okay, so that's one image. Then let's bring in the second image right here. And let's hope, okay, good. So those are the same size. They're a little bit too close together. So this is kind of like the trick I came up with moving rasters. Rather than worrying about location of like the X and Y axis, just take this square and let's just move it over and go to this tool here that moves and resize the raster. See how well all of this stuff is organized? I know which one I'm moving. So there it is, okay? So now I have three pictures on my drawing as artwork, but that's not enough. Don't just leave it at that. Take it to a different level here of detail and presentation. Let's zoom in here, and let's get another box put around here. You're going to, I'm not going to say you're going to love this later, but I think you will. Okay, so now let's take this, and let's offset this by, that's not enough. Let's do it by another foot. Okay, so that's a 2-foot border around there. All I'm doing is offsetting this. So let's do the same thing around these. Offset that, offset that. Okay, so that's still getting really tight. So what I'm going to do, these are just adjustments that you do in a presentation. And for this one, like the grass line was not that important. So I want to get this drawing out of the way or moved away. Get all this stuff out of here, out of the way. Grab the whole thing. I don't know why. Okay, let's get this up even more. And let's slide these up. So watch this. I just take these. I'm going to move them up. And then I'm going to go back to this tool and take DDS sample 1, slide it up a little bit more, and 2, slide that up a little. So pretty darn simple. You know, that's why it's really important to kind of get a good grip of the tools. But these kind of things are what Joe and I have really been kind of trying to put into these webinars, some outside-the-box ways of doing things. Now, I like my borders to be in walkway layer just because I just like the width of it, and it just seems like it shows up on drawings. And then the last thing you want to do, let's just put a little description on there. Let's say Techo Block Aberdeen. Pretty sure that's what that is. Okay? We can size it however we want. That's not big enough size. So let's make that 3 feet, 3 feet. How's this? A little too big. Let's go 2.5 feet. 2.5 feet. That's pretty good. Okay? All right. Actually, let's do this even smarter. This is kind of a really neat feature that I've gone over. Techo Block Aberdeen. And then we're going to do, let's see, backyard render 1, backyard render 2, and I think, what do we do, 2.5 for that? 2.5. Okay, now, instead of saying apply, see how it brings them all as a batch? Click multi, and just throw these here for now, okay? We're getting real close. So you know what we're going to do? Let's do this. Let's take this and let's move this up here. Okay? Let's take this and let's move this up here. And then, so this is all about the presentation, right? So we want this thing organized. The more organized this is, the better you're going to look, and it's going to show people that you have an eye for detail, and you actually have the ability to organize things and line them up. So let's go back and let's move these over. See what I'm doing? I'm just moving the box and putting these images. Let's see, render 1 here, render 2 here, okay? And then with your inference settings on, take this, see where this says midpoint, just sit that there, slide it straight down. So now your text is centered on that box. Sit here, drop it straight down. Third, same thing, control point in the middle, sit right on the box, slide it straight down. Okay, so let's change that layer to walkway too, because I mean you can change it to whatever you want, but that's what I like. Okay, perfect. So we have a nice organized drawing. We have staggered labeling. All of it is the same size font. It's all in capital letters. Everything's good. This squeaked by with these on a different layer, but that's okay. Proper lines as far as line weights and our kind of clip art on our drawing. So let's take this into color now. So everything making sense here, Joe? Everybody following us okay?
So far, I think we're on board.
Good. And it's good to hear your voice because I know that I'm still connected to the webinar.
You definitely are. So,
okay, so
we've got the whole images and rasters on a presentation, and that really helps clients understand what they're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right off the bat, you walk in and you have what you want to convey to your client visually with your images, and you have it kind of laid out. My opinion, 3D is starting to catch on. It's actually catching on a little slower than what I thought 2 to 3 years ago. I thought we'd be a little bit farther ahead than we are now, but next year I'm going to actually start a different kind of model with some clients where they are just going to present 3D rather than a plan as an experiment and see how that works. Because when you can show a client this and you can show them this, what else do you really need to show them? I mean, you're going to want to show them more angles than that, but people aren't so concerned with plans as they are actually visualizing what this is going to look like. So I know, Joe, you are hearing this probably more now that landscape companies are getting requests from clients because their clients, quote unquote, can't visualize it. The problem is I don't think enough landscapers are doing 3D yet, so please just start getting into it. If you can't do it, find somebody who can do it and offer it as a service, because with my client, the closing rate for jobs with 3D imaging is just absolutely through the roof. A little time consuming, but it pays dividends in the end. So we're going to save this drawing, and I'm just going to save it on the desktop as color. Okay, so that's easy for me to find. All right, let's open DynaSCAPE Color. You talk about a simple interface. I don't know if it gets much easier than this other than a calculator, but actually calculators, I think, are a little bit more complex than this. So let's open up that drawing, and here it is right there. Okay, so before I do anything, let's save presentation as color presentation. Okay, now let's jump back into design really quick once this saves. You're going to notice on this drawing, as I click these lines, see all this? These are all closed areas. So that means I can color them all now. Now, like I said in the last webinar, and we'll teach this another day, that there is functionality now where DynaSCAPE Color, you set it up in the design where it will actually find the boundaries, I guess you could say, in color, and then it will color it in rather than worrying about closed polylines. So these are all closed areas, and they're ready to go. So at this point, you can really just start taking off here and coloring this in. For right now, let's just do the big things that make the biggest impact. So here's grass. Okay, so there's grass, all right? Put it to the background. Let's see, do I have my house colored in? I do. So I made a texture or a color for my house, which is this. I just like the color. Who cares? You know, you could do whatever you want. Let's start to color in some material. Like this is Bluestone. So,
Hey, Patrick?
there are, yeah.
Let's just hold on a little bit. I think there's a little bit of lag in between your screen coming back to us. So
Okay.
we weren't able to see your Bluestone.
Okay. So the Bluestone, so let's look at the Bluestone. Take a look at the Bluestone. Can you see that okay, Joe?
Yeah, I think we've caught up now.
Good. Okay, this Bluestone is a real texture of Bluestone that I created from my texture library, which is in my favorites here in textures, right there. So in here, I have all kinds of things like, you know, there's copper I use for a copper roof runt. There's fabric. So let's just do something. Let's make a custom texture. But what you're able to do is make textures where if I wanted all of this black stone, that can be all my black stone. So I don't like coloring beds in before all the plants because it's a lot easier to see the plants. So let's work on this patio right here. Let's make this the main focus of what we're going to do. So these are 3 dark night bluebeards. Just like in design with your figures, get acclimated to those. Get acclimated to these too. So, you know, the botanical name for this is Caryopteris. And Caryopteris is kind of like a bluish color flower. So this is a really nice Caryopteris. Let's put a blue perennial here like this. That's the blue fescue. Green velvet boxwood. Let's make them these. So you see I'm going to these plants that I already know that that's what I like to use because, you know, I've used it enough. And you're going to get to the same point. So here's my perennials. There's my perennials in my bed. Let's make the stone that, it's like a Mexican rock stone kind of a deal. Okay, it's looking pretty cool. So Bluestone, I haven't really found some really great Bluestones online yet that don't pattern. So let's grab a really nice Bluestone. This just looks really good. But let's rotate this. It'd be a lot of work construction-wise, but let's rotate that on a 45. Okay, now our seat wall. Here's our stone for our seat wall. So let's go grab our Bluestone. Here's our seat wall. Here's some steps. Okay, so you're seeing how easy this is once all these areas are closed. But let's say, let's do this. This is a really nice function of the software too. It's the update presentation tool, which I'd ask people if they're using it, and they're not, which you need to be using. So let's just say we had a couple chairs right here sitting on the patio, and let's group these together, okay? And let's save our drawing. Now watch what I can do. I can just go to File, Update Presentation, Color, Open. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Okay, here are those chairs. So this is really neat, and I might have gone over this in the last 1 or 2 webinars, but if you forget something or you didn't close a polyline, you can do that, save it, and bring this back up. So let's say we want to make a texture. So let's just make this, let's just put this in the accessories library for now. Let's go to Tool, Style Editor. We're going to go to Accessories, and we're going to make a new texture. So the important part here is to select which library this is going to go in, because that's going to show up wherever these are. So let's go to New Texture. Let's go to Libraries. No. Let's go to, where are they? Oh, because I have my Dropbox closed. Oh, here we go. Okay. One, textures. See how organized all these are? And we've gone over this in the past. Keep things very organized because I know very easily how to find it. So let's go to fabrics, and let's do like this kind of a cranberry-ish color here. Click on tile and select tile. Now this is kind of a process of or trial and error on the scale of this. So you know what? I don't know exactly where this is going to be look right. So we're just going to click update, and we're going to click X, and we're going to say yes. Would you like to save the changes? So now when I go to accessories, here's this fabric. So see, it's a little blurry. That's not really what I want. So what you do is, let's take this toggle, I guess you could call it, and let's back this down to like 12, 11. Ooh, that's terrible. Let's go back. Let's go to 10. That's pretty good. So watch what we're going to do. We're going to jump back into the style editor and select what we just made and make this 10%. Update. Yes. So now, every time we color with this fabric, it's going to be the right texture. Okay? So you can do this with any texture. You know, you want to try to find textures that have large fields where you're not going to get a lot of skipping and repetitive patterns or repetition, because it's going to be very distracting to the eye. So here's, let's go to Paver Patterns. Here's like a techo block paver I made. I know why that's doing that, because I have this set up for it later. So let's get rid of this border, and we'll update this. That's kind of the last part of what I want to show you how to do to make these drawings pop. So I got rid of that in the background, okay? So now I can color that patio, this patio. Let's make that one and rotate it 45. So let's say you do like Techo Block has one called I can't remember what it's called. It's a charcoal. It's a dark. I think it's like onyx black. For onyx black pavers, I just go to concrete, like maybe this color, and see, it's pretty slick. And then you just adjust the like maybe let's use this one. That's not bad. And then let's take the scale down a little bit. So you just click on it, you adjust the scale down. So looks pretty cool, right? I can copy that texture now. Actually, I didn't put a border. Did I put a border in there? No, I didn't put a border in there. But you can copy this texture from here to anywhere else. So, you know, I can put it there if I want to. So you can really start creating some custom drawings with exact materials you want. So here is what I like to use for my grass. It's real grass. See that? So if I zoom in on it, you can see the blades of grass. I pulled the opacity off a little bit. See what happens if you keep it at full opacity? It's really distracting. So that 75 is kind of what I think that I like. Let's just make these plants here hydrangeas. We'll just finish this bed off. So let's do those like a white hydrangea. So let's go to this one. Let's make this here, the tree. Let's make that like a blood good Japanese maple or something. So let's go to trees. And then all the way down at the bottom, here's a Japanese maple. Now I have this set up with opacity already predetermined, so I don't have to adjust it in the end, which is a feature you can do. So let's put the grass.
That's one of my favorite things to do, is to set up your, once you get an idea of what you like, how you like your shadows, how you like your opacity, to go out and set that up globally so that every time you're doing something it's just automatically like that, so I don't have to go and switch one every single time.
Yeah, this is what Joe's talking about, and it was funny. Joe was kind of really teaching himself how to do color really quick and efficiently at a trade show, and he got in and adjusted all these, and So this is where you can set defaults. If you just want your opacity to not always be full opacity, your scale, shadow default, you can change the direction of your shadows and the depth and all those characteristics. So every time you bring something in, so if I were to shadow these, this is what comes stock in the software. But you can tell the color program that you want to just have everything kind of like this every time. So then it's set up. And then you just have to go kind of and adjust the height a little bit. So let's put this here. So these are colored. Now, the next thing I want everybody to start doing is this. I want you to start bleeding these out. Take the boxwoods, like hedges like this, you don't really need to, but things like these, whatever these are, they were the daylilies, bleed these out a little bit. Let's throw this tree to the background, bleed these out a little bit, and let's pull the opacity. See, I mean, this is all personal preference, but like, I hate to keep saying I like, because it really, I mean, it's all how you guys want to do things, but I just think it looks nice to have a little bit more of a subtleness or subtlety to these drawings. So that's kind of what I do. So let's put the tree to the foreground, and then if you look in here in my mulch and turf, I've made a real mulch. So pretty cool, right? So that's real mulch. I've got a client in Georgia that uses pine straw. So there's pine straw. I don't think, I actually did adjust the opacity on it. It's not bad. Okay, so then we want to make sure that all of our layering is correct, where the tree is above this, and we don't have, you know, you don't want boxwoods above the tree. So this is a cross-check that you want to do at the end of your drawing. And to end with the, you know, the coloring aspect of this, now you start making this drawing pop, where you adjust, let's adjust some of these characteristics of this, and we'll start coloring things. Let's say that that wall is going to shadow down, but let's make it a little deeper like this. With the seat wall, let's go against like the norm here and shadow it inside. So it doesn't look like I colored that. Oh yeah, it came off. So let's just adjust. We can rotate. That's the texture. Let's rotate, and I'm going to have problems here because of the resolution of my screen. So let's just do this. Let's go back to my stone. And let's go back to that bluestone. And let's just reshadow this. Okay. Okay, now, these are shadowed. I just have to put these in the background. So this is really starting to look cool, where I can see layers, heights. I should go in here and start adjusting these. Drawings look much better when you don't have all of these individual pieces. They look much more elegant when things flow. Masses look better as far as more full. So here's a nice patio. If you want to do a fire, you know, you can put a color of a fire in there. Actually, so I've set this up here where I can color this, throw this to the background, and see I've drawn a square in there. So if I wanted to, I could put some stone in this fireplace or fire pit. I need to adjust my scale of my stone. And then let's go down to accessories and just let's put a little fire in there. I can't remember if that bleeds out or not. Yeah, cool, it does. So there's our fire pit. Graphically, this reads very, very well. Your client can see that this is higher than this. We're stepping down. So look at what's going on with our lines. This is a common question. How do I get my lines back? Write this down. All you do is put Control-T. Brings everything to the background. So after you create this really great looking drawing, there is a list of cross checks you want to do at the end. You want to make sure all your heights of things are set correctly as far as layers, so your trees are on top of your shrubs, which are on top of your perennials or whatever, based on the height. All your walls and steps are shadowed. Your pavers are all the right scale and direction. And then the last thing you do is Control T. And like, you know, when you do calculations on a calculator and I'm sure almost everybody does this, you hit the CE button like 4 or 5 times to clear it out. I do that too. I just control just because it works on one, but I just do that. So, okay, now let's really start bringing this thing to life. So let's just say that this thing is all colored. Let's just save it, because we do not want to lose our progress. Okay. Our clip art. Let's address our clip art. Let's go to marker. Let's go to contemporary. Let's grab a color. Let's go like this. And go here. Okay? Watch this. Take that. Go to our shadow. And bring this here. Shadow down. Let's drop this here. Pretty slick, right? So now this is really clip art. So we're going to copy the properties from this one, and we're going to give it to that one, and we're going to give it to that one. So now that's a little bit too bright. I don't really care for the color of that. So let's dull it down a little bit. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of compatible with this.
Hey,
so
Patrick,
I
think
yeah.
We got a little bit of lag in your screen again. So if you can go back to show that real quick, maybe just slow it down a little bit. I think because you're tethering your phone as your hotspot, it's just having trouble keeping up. Okay, so I'll just do this one again then. So let's just clear this out. So remember when we did in design, in our around our image, we did our offset. So this is going to come in really handy now. So let's pick this gray color, and let's color the background. And then take a shadow. The screen hasn't updated yet. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just give it a half a second to maybe refresh. Because we're still zoomed in to your backyard render 1.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to just kind of center this on the screen, and we'll just kind of let it. So basically the concept here is this. And you can let me know when you see this image, Joe, with the, it's just a colored background render 1. We're going to color the background of that, and then we're going to give it a drop shadow. So it pops off of the screen. Can you see it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, so now we give it a nice drop shadow. Okay? See the drop shadow okay, Joe?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So now this is a lot more, it's not so flat. It kind of brings more life to this drawing, and it looks a little bit more, you know, everybody talks about wanting to provide a hand-rendered look, which I didn't even go into that characteristics of the graphics here. That, you know, another reason for how wonderful of how superior they are is because they are really a nice hand-rendered look. So this just starts to give you a more handcrafted looking presentation. So that gives you your clip art look. So this is the kind of the last detail that I've started doing, and you can kind of decide whether it's worth it for you, because it will use a little bit more ink on your drawing, but I think it's worth it. So you jump back into your design. You do dead last, because sometimes this, what I'm doing, almost it shows up as a surface on top of your drawing, and you have to constantly be putting it to the background. So what I'm doing right now is I'm tracing and I'm creating a box inside of my drawing that I'm going to be able to apply a color to in color. And this, now again, you can decide if you like it or don't. Most people like it. There's a small handful that doesn't. So let's go update our presentation in color. Okay. So now I'm back into color. Are we back into color, Joe?
We are, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So this color looks really neat. So let's color the drawing. So remember what I just said about this pane of glass? Like sometimes it becomes a pain. It's not a bad joke, but sounds like it. That pain becomes a pain because you're kind of working through it. So let's put it to the background, and let's pull the opacity way back in this thing. So, you know, you can just kind of adjust this as you want to see where you like the opacity. And that really, when you take something like this to someone's home, you know, it's a landscape plan, but it really is kind of a work of art. It's something that you could frame for your client. And, you know, this is something that you should do. Try it out on a really nice project that, you know, it's a decent size. Take your drawing, have it professionally framed, and at the end of the job, give it to your client. Wrap it up and give it to them. They will think it's one of the neatest things they've ever seen before, because everybody loves to talk about their yard and show it off when clients come over when they've spent all this money. So what better marketing than a 24 by 36-inch landscape plan on somebody's wall with your logo right on it? It's definitely a showpiece, and it's something that they can't fold up and put it in their drawer, and hopefully they won't just throw it away. They're not going to give it to anybody because nobody wants somebody else's landscape plan on their wall either. So I kind of went through a lot of stuff. You know, we had to adjust a little bit with the hiccups in the beginning, so it kind of threw us off a little bit. But we've gotten through everything I want, and, you know, just use the tools the software has given to you. Do your homework, watch the videos, just, you know, have fun with it and be creative and do things to really set yourself apart. This is going to set yourself apart. So I think that's about everything I wanted to go over, Joe.
So there were quite a few questions as you were going through your presentation, and I did answer most of them. So recently someone asked, when you have a bunch of plants that are clustered together, when you rotate them, they all rotate together, but sometimes it looks a little too uniform. How can you do that? And so my recommendation would be, you know, if you want to have individual and be able to individually rotate the swatch inside the figure, then don't cluster the group. So if you have clustered it, use the uncluster tool, save it, and go back and update the presentation and apply the color individually, and you'll be able to rotate individually.
Right. Do you want me to show them that?
Yeah, if you can show that real quick.
Okay. So I call this the spilled milk tool because it looks like a puddle of spilled milk, but it's actually the cluster tool. But down here is the uncluster tool. So let's undo that. So if I select this and then left-click and right-click this massing, if you're going to, so this goes into another thing then. If you want these individual, you want to make sure you're going to be going back to originally counting. So you're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you insert these, you're going to be putting label quantity 7. So those are ungrouped now, or unclustered. So if I update the presentation to that and go in like this, and let's go to shrubs, and let's make that like a red knockout rose or something. So there's a really good one for red knockout roses, which is in the perennials category, which is that. So you can do this. Actually, that doesn't really give a good rotation. Trees usually give a much better image of rotation because they've got that definite dark green. So what you could do is something like this, though, because you want to, not opacity, you could rotate like this, maybe rotate one like that, I don't know, and maybe let's send another one rotating all the way over there, and then set your color properties like this, and hit 1, 2, 3, and then copy this one to here, copy this one to here, and now you're really randomizing. And I guess if you wanted to, you could even set opacity at a different one. But
yeah, and I was just going to suggest that too. Maybe with the taller trees that you have on the top part of the layer.
Yeah.
The opacity there. Or
just kind of like
just
that.
so that they're not so uniform. The question there was a good one, because I do understand that sometimes when you have a very large massing, it can look a little too uniform, and so this is definitely a way to make it so that it doesn't look so uniform and give it a little bit more random look.
Yeah, it gives it a little bit more depth. Just be very careful not to do too much of this in a drawing, because it will start to look very, very busy. So do it with certain things. Again, it's personal preference, but feedback tells me that the more simple the better. So I really like this look, but you would not want to do it probably too much, so it doesn't really start, because then it starts to get confusing. Like, is that a different, like, I can just see a customer saying, is that going to be a bigger shrub than that one because that one is lower than that, or is this how we trim these, or whatever? And it could open up a little bit of a Pandora's box as far as growth habits are concerned.
Yeah. Good. So there was one other one, another question that was asked earlier in the webinar, and I'm just going to go back to it.
Okay.
So Steve was asking if you could repeat the method to apply multiple text labels for rasters. So.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's say we have a picture, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's say we want to do just something very easy and saying render 1, render 2, render 3, render 4, render 5. So type in render 1, enter. Render 2, enter. Render 3, enter. Render 4, enter. Render 5, enter. Okay, now all you need to do, move this thing out of the way, go to multi. That's way too small, so let's make this a larger size. Okay, go to multi. 1, and all I'm doing is left clicking. And see, as soon as I click, this software is smart enough to say, okay, you're good there, let's go to the next. And the guideline is nice because you can kind of line these up. I mean, there's a more perfect way to do this with alignment, but 4, 5. And then you just get these lined up accordingly. So this is a great way to really rapid fire labeling and not be typing it individually. So great function.
Awesome. Well, thanks for showing us that. I think that's about the questions that we have. So appreciate.
Can I say one more thing? Can I say one more thing, Joe, that I forgot? Also be careful with how many, the software comes with some really nice looking fonts. Really be careful not to mix too many fonts too. I've seen some drawings where they're just font crazy, and it really starts to get confusing and what's the word, distracting when there's too much, like why do you, simplify the font. I like maybe 2 in a drawing. The title is 1, and then maybe all the text in the actual design itself. So,
yeah, and
sorry to interrupt, but I
that's
wanted
a
to get
graphic
that in.
design lesson right there, right? You know,
Right.
some of the first lessons you learn in graphic design is not to mix too many fonts, and typically the golden rule is don't stray more than 2. 3 if you absolutely need to, but 2 for different fonts, and you try and stick within the same font family. So that's great. So up next, next week, we're looking at advanced presentation techniques, and really what we're going to be focusing on there is going from DynaSCAPE Design to SketchUp and presenting in 3D. And really it's going to be the standard for landscape design in the coming years. The more that, you know, the public or homeowners watch HGTV and they watch, you know, the outdoor renovation shows, and they see the concept plans presented in 3D and there's animation around it, the more that's going to be what they want, and so that's being asked for a lot now. So if you haven't got on board, start to learn SketchUp. It's going to be the way of the future. Get ahead of the curve, and so we're going to dip our feet into some of the foundations in our next webinar. And so that's next week, Thursday afternoon, November the 10th at 2. And we're going to have a couple of weeks because both Patrick and I are traveling to some conferences. So the last webinar in the series will be from the design to the estimate, and we're going to show how to do takeoffs and create your estimate on the fly using Manage 360, and that'll be December 1st. So that's a Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. as well. So thanks so much for joining us. Patrick, really appreciate your time. I know it takes a lot to prepare for these. And, you know, I'm foreseeing technical issues like the power going out in your home. Or in
yeah, I'll have somebody standing next to the box downstairs to flip the switch if it goes out next week.
So, I mean, how could you ever predict that?
Yeah.
So thanks, everyone, for joining us. I'm Joe Salemi, the Product Marketing Manager with DynaSCAPE. My contact information is on the screen. If you need anything, please reach out. If you are new to DynaSCAPE or considering an investment, please reach out. Can definitely help you with your investment, and if you'd like to see a little bit more in depth and understand a little bit more of the functionality, we can speak one-on-one. Patrick, thanks again for your time, and
thank you.
We'll talk again next week.